Alright, this session, seeing as the other two players that were just there for the first time weren't here this time, we kind of hand-wove that they went on their own to continue on with their quests and stuff like that. Then we had, in the morning, we had the group come across a couple of orcs that were fighting over a goblin that they had captured in an act. The party, so I kind of had it as these were like orc scouts that were gathering food and stuff. They saved the goblin that was named Twigs. And Gil and Xantra put the bodies behind the cart, so Finn, who was a paladin, couldn't see what was going on. And Gil chopped off the heads of the orcs, put them in a special bag that he got that I had given him before when he went off on his own. And it was kind of like a refrigerator for a bag. So bag of holding, but just refrigerator. So it would take care of just organic materials. So no weapons, no, maybe wood if it was fresh, but it was basically meant to keep anything that was made from monsters or monster parts in there and not aging. I did this that way my players could kind of monster hunt, like play Monster Hunter, where it's kind of grab bits and pieces of monsters and let them use that in making things, because I always enjoy that aspect, as if it's a Dungeons and Dragons world and there's magic everywhere and there's these interesting creatures, there should be a way to use parts and stuff like that. Recently I actually got a Kickstarter for Jess Jackdaw, who does lots of D&D and Pokemon fusions and stuff like that. That has a Kickstarter about that exact thing. So definitely got on that, and it should be fun. So they cut off the bodies, or cut off the heads from the bodies, and a magical item that Gil had was a staff that I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a snake staff that turns into a giant constrictor snake, I believe. And used that to dispose of the bodies, let the snake eat them. After that, they traveled for a bit, came across a displacer beast. They had several bad rolls, and the party was going down. But Twigs, the goblin, had a deck of illusions. So he threw one of those out there to get the attention of the displacer beast, and help manage to turn the tide of that little fight. There's a few little warnings from Gil of, like, something's going on, that this goblin was captured and yet had a magical item such as a deck of illusions. But due to Gil's player and how he plays, he didn't do anything, kind of went along with it. All this time I was kind of sweating bullets of kind of going, I hope that he allowed, I could see that. I know that he could think of something and put a kibosh on kind of what I was planning on doing. That night, when Finn and Twigs was on watch, so they took the first watch, Oh yeah, before that, due to the properties that Gil has of being able to make items, I can't remember what it is. I'll have to message him and see what that was, and I'll put it in the writings underneath. But it gave me the chance to go and say, okay, you use the hide of the displacer to make a cloak of displacement, because that's what it kind of shows as the... If you look at the picture of a cloak of displacement, it's a displacer beast's tentacles and all that. They also kept a bit of other pieces from it and put it in his bag. So the party went to sleep as Finn and Twigs took first watch. After a lot longer than it should have for someone to switch the watch, Thea woke up from a vision of a monster. And hearing the words, "Don't trust the goblin, Finn is in trouble." And then when she wakes up, she both Gipmo, the sapphire otter, and her eyes were both glowing blue in like a... I always kind of describe it as like the anime style, where it's like the lights off of it a bit. Gil could see this, and even though it was only 2 hours since they've taken their rest, the party got the benefits as if it was a long rest. So this was another one of my trying to key in with what Thea would get from the goddess that I was showing. Especially the fact that it was both her and Gipmo, and the blue shining from the eyes. So I had both Thea and Gil roll to see if they could find the tracks, and they couldn't. They didn't roll high enough. So I kind of had to kind of go, okay, well, Gipmo with his smell will be able to find him and track him down. I probably should have come up with more of a backup plan or something like that, or just not have did it. But I also wanted to make it that it would have been a little bit harder because when Gil was trying to hide the cloak of displacement, he didn't roll so good, and I rolled for Twigs to notice, and he did. So thus, Twigs would have had the cloak of displacement as well, because he'd stolen that as well. But that's what happened, and then Gitmo led Thea and Gil. I guess Sandra would have still been there too, but because his player wasn't, we didn't really... We're kind of forgetting him at this point. So, you know, it kind of gets hard when players don't show up, so, yeah. But they tracked them down to a cave. And that's kind of where we ended that session. I had kind of planned that this would have been like the cave that was a goblin's nest, and where the two goblins that Thea met way back in the first session were from, and were like the only survivors from the attack of Twigs, who isn't a goblin, but is a Barghest. So if you, in Volo's guys, it says that sometimes they are born from goblins, and I used that because Thea befriended goblins, and it's kind of going, okay, well, she befriended them once, she'll probably do it again, and this is a way to spice things up a bit. And I just really liked, I really enjoy goblins, so it's fun to make it that there's a wide variety, and people kind of learn the lore of the goblins, so I get to play with them more. So yeah, we'll go into more of that next time.